Exactly.
That's
So we're on
okay.
to the fourth. So I'll let you carry on with the fourth and then the fifth level.
Yeah, sure. So 4PL, when you think about a 4PL, think long-term contract. Okay. A 4PL is a company that's going to come in. Typically, a 4PL is a company that is uniquely geared, situated to integrate with a customer. They're dealing with, you know, the product that's coming in that's going to get manufactured, the product that's going out that they manufactured, the warehousing component of it, the inventory. They're dealing with several of the services for that customer. They are truly the supply chain consultants that I had referenced earlier in this, right? They are the people who are saying, okay, we are selecting the transportation providers. We're selecting these brokers, these carriers. These are the people who are going to haul it. They're offering that one point of contact for the customer. A lot of times they are the individuals who are interfacing alongside with maybe a customer representative, maybe not, with some of the vendors, right? They're the people who are dealing with the freight payment, the freight audit. They're dealing with the claims. They're dealing with the warehousing. They're dealing with how they're going to create the IT solution for the customer. They are the person where the customer says, okay, I am going to truly focus on my core competency or my aspect of the business that I'm good at. And then you as in the 4PL, you handle the entire supply chain process, right? And that deals with the planning of the production, the planning of the delivery of the goods, the manufacture of the goods that's going to go out. Not the manufacturing process, but how it gets stored, how it gets packaged, in some cases, some of those things. So 4PL is the company from a freight perspective. Think about it like this: they're going to be running the transportation bids, right? So you have a company who makes widgets, and they say, okay, hey, I've got these widgets, and I've got all these customers, and I've got these DCs. So then that 4PL says, okay, great. Based up, and they do the analytics. They get into the data. They get into the weeds. Okay, based on these shipping patterns, we need to have this many product go from the manufacturer to the DC to the customer in these areas. Maybe they'll recommend to the customer, you need to either build or rent a DC in this particular area to better service your customer. They'll create the bid packages. They'll send out the bids. And, that's not uncommon with what you see with Uber right now, right? You got Uber
Right.
Freight, and they just bought Transplace, and what they're doing is they're running these bids for all these other customers and whatnot. They're becoming a 4PL, or they are a 4PL for a lot of their
I've
customers.
used Transplace for a customer that was, that's how it worked, is you had to be part of Transplace, and you did your bids on through the Transplace system, and then you had to track and do everything through that. And I think that this 4PL model, what it does is, a manufacturer may have their own supply chain, but sometimes what it can do is, if they're not that big of a company, that they're big enough to warrant all this, a 4PL can help, because a 4PL can be for many different companies. Sometimes if they're big enough, they'll be exclusive to one company as a service point, but they could also be multiple. So they could service multiple customers because of the size of the warehouse and the scaling. So they could have someone who doesn't pump out, say, truckloads, and you're producing something, but they don't really have kind of, maybe you're literally producing, you're a small company startup and you're producing something in your garage. You got your whole garage set up to produce it. You're boxing it up. And as you box up a pallet or two, you get it brought to this 4PL warehouse. They take care of all the rest of it for you. You tell them when there's an order and they take care of it from there. That's one idea I think of. And then the second idea I think, and then I'll let you can correct me, but one is for the small startups, utilizing the power of a 4PL to help create the distribution to the marketplace. The second one is, I'll keep it simple. You have a company in Houston, and they're shipping all around. They realize, we have a lot of orders up in the Northeast, and shipping all the way up there all the time can be costly, or they're not getting full truckloads all the time. So maybe they don't want to deal with all that. So what they can use is a 4PL based in Chicago or Ohio. It's a way for them to branch their business without having to invest in a full operation. So they can ship the product to a warehouse there, and as orders are necessary, the 4PL takes care of, and they can look after a region. So I'm not sure if that's the right idea, but just to give some sense for the audience to understand, is that would that be accurate?
Yeah, it would. Okay, so to your point, when you're a small business, small operation, you use the garage model, right? Um, so yeah, what you can do is you can have a small business who manufactures a product, and they say, okay, I have a product. Well, the 4PL will come pick it up and take it and do it for. They'll handle all of that, right? And it's a way for them to scale their business to grow. It allows them to focus on what they need to without having to get involved or try to learn these different skill sets to take their product to the market. Okay. But, on a much larger scale, right? It's think about a company, multi-million, billion-dollar company. And what that is they can say, all right, I can save money by not having to onboard several people, deal with the compliance, deal with the insurance, deal with the claims, all of those types of things. So what they can do is they can focus on manufacturing or importing of a product. If they're manufacturing overseas, they're importing it, and they can handle that transaction. For example, I work with a company, and there was a 4PL involved where the 4PL created a load control center. Okay, so this company had product, and they were manufacturing a product. And what they did is they hired a 4PL to basically come on site. The employees were employees of the 4PL. The software solution that they had was a solution from the 4PL. And what would happen is they would say, I've got this product done and I've got an order for my customer. They would feed it over to the ERP system. And from there, they would handle everything. Now, the benefits to that large company is they were able to reduce costs, look at a collapsed financial statement saying, okay, here's my cost for the 4PL, and then here's my variable costs for anything
Right.
where it went to a spot market, or if they had to buy additional DC space somewhere else, right? And then, through that collaboration, the 4PL was able to say, all right, let's do quarterly business reviews. And then they can look at the quarterly business review and really dive into the details. And they can do all the data, all the analytics, all the slicing and dicing, and say, okay, hey, here's how we performed. Here's how notice I said we, not you, customer, here's how we performed last quarter. And then here's the areas of opportunities where we believe that we can improve, right? Because a 4PL should be taking a look at all ends of the supply chain and saying, okay, let's try to work on this a little bit better. And I'm touching a little bit on a 5PL solution when I say that, right?
Yeah.
But a 4PL should be able to handle all areas of the supply chain for a
Well, and
customer.
also at a deeper level is if they're seeing claims and the product maybe it's due to the packaging, well, they're going to bring that
Yep.
back and have to tweak it up. And also the benefit is with the 4PL is they can take the orders, and depending on how many orders are coming in and where, they could then be that creative on saying, hey, we have like 4 pals here, 3 pals here, 4 pals here, and they're all going to this one state. So
Yep.
what we're going to do is we're going to order that as almost like a truckload, and we have a partner warehouse there.
Mhm.
We're going
Yep.
to drop it at, and then we're going to assign those as. Then they go to branch out to 3 different markets. So you have to decide which is the most effective. But that's what the 4PL is doing for that manufacturer, and that's where I guess the whole thing I want to bring in is how a freight broker agent fits into this model. Well, every time a truck has to get moved, if you have a relationship with the 4PL, that because the 4PL is they're not a brokerage, they're a logistics, they're different. They may
Sure.
have they may have a brokerage component to them. They may have a brokerage division, and they may even have a freight forwarding division as part of
Mhm.
that because they can import goods as well or export goods. But they're set up a little different than a traditional broker that might be working from their home. They have assets, they have warehousing, they may even have a shunt truck to move trailers in and out of docks, right? They
Sure.
may have a class 1 driver or 2 on board, and then they got forklifts, they've got warehousing, they've got, like you said, scanning in systems. Like they're a full on operation, and that saves a manufacturer time. But as a broker agent, your opportunity is to source those out and build relationships and seeing, can your services it's more so that your services can they keep up with the 4PL's requirements.
Oh yeah, oh absolutely, right. So focusing a little bit on what you were talking about, how the agent broker model fits into that 4PL. If you've got a really good agent who is thinking at a 4PL level, right? So they know already, okay, the 4PL that I'm dealing with, they're going to need this information, they're going to need this, they're going to need this from the customer, and they can communicate that to the customer, right? So that agent is the middleman, can be the effective middleman between a 4PL and a customer. Absolutely.
And I guess to a degree, if there's enough volume there, the 3PL party can assist the 4PL if it became an RFQ. If
Yeah,
they
sure.
if they wanted some contract business in there, if you have a deep enough relationship where you're not just bidding on the freight, but they're actually asking you to help go to the marketplace, source us some rates, come back to us. What can you offer us in which lanes? And you can be a strong consultant in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's another thing, Robert. I've worked with some businesses where I'm going to say the 3PL operated as a 4PL light, right? So now, okay, and I'm not coining a new term, but what that is that 3PL, because they've got such a good relationship with the customer. Maybe the customer isn't a large scope, large scale, maybe they are, but they say, hey, let me help you take a look at your transportation spend. Where are you spending? Do you have an RFP process, right? If you don't have an RFP process, let me help you walk through this process and build it for you, right? Do you have a process for warehousing? No. Well, let me start trying to work with some warehousing partners and go through that process. I've even seen it where a 3PL had brought in the freight payment functions for a customer, right? So there's no definitive um, end to a 3PL. They can do multiple things. They can do this component or that component. They can do a few different things. It doesn't have to just be moving freight.